All right, should we get started? People are still flowing in, but it's fine, so we'll get started.
Yeah.
All right, great. Hi, Piya. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everyone else, also for joining in for another session of the Build for Her Forum. Piya, you and organizationally, we have been interacting for, I think, over 2 years now. And we have had some kind of a view into when you first started designing your product, when you were trying to understand the market, the kind of experiments that you have launched, the kind of research that you did, and your sort of very in-depth um, view and of effort in understanding the customer segment that you're trying to serve, understanding what their cognitive biases may be, how they interact with technology, what their stance towards finances, and how to navigate all of that while you're trying to build business tools for, as we call, the women of Bharat. So, without sort of taking up too much time, I'll hand it over to you. Just a minute of housekeeping first. So, for everyone who's perhaps joining us in for the first time, our sessions are 45 minutes long. Priya will speak for about 20 minutes, after which we'll open the floor for questions, comments, your experiences, etc. While PI is speaking, if you do have questions or comments, please raise your hand or park a question in the comment section in the chat box, and we'll pick that up once the first part of the talk is over. All right, with that, over to you, Pia.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Trisha. Yes, you're right. We have been speaking uh, for a long time now, and I think you've watched most of our journey as we begin to traverse this space of getting technology to our to the our least technologically advanced group of, especially the rural women entrepreneurs. Uh, I do have a presentation. So the way this is structured is that I'll quickly walk you through the journey that why did we start and what are we doing at MeraBills, and then talk about the challenges that this group faces to bring them to technology, and what are we doing about it and how we're thinking of solving for it. And then, we can talk about what our learnings have been, which might be valuable for other people who are looking at this group of, this demographic to bring technology to, or even help them understand and bring them onto the platforms. So I do have a presentation for the first part. So let me quickly share that, and then I will get into, we can talk about the learnings and the mistakes we made and the big fails and the smaller fails. So yeah, just let me know when you can see my presentation. Yeah?
It's up.
Right. So essentially, MeraBills is engaged with empowering women entrepreneurs with skills, digital business tools, and growth pathways. This is what our line says. But I would like to add what we also help her with is building confidence and building decision making skills, which really come with her understanding her business better. And that's while the tools and the skills all are adding to her, her ability to build confidence, but it's also this how she begins to take decisions regarding money that is becoming very interesting as we go along our journey. So and we'll talk more about it later. I mean, you all know this, the Indian women entrepreneurs, right? I mean, she could be a beautypreneur, she could sell saris, she could make food, she could mix masalas, she is a tailor and all, and so many kinds of things. But many times what we realize when we speak to her is that she is typically a one-person army. She is the accountant, she's a salesman, she makes the food, she sells the food, she packages it. Mostly that is the category we are looking at. The kinds of questions when we spoke to many of our, I mean, initially when we started thinking about it, was things like, I need more customers. How can I grow my business? Even things like, who owes me money? That kind of, the very basic questions that we feel like, oh, I thought this was solved for. And that's what, led us to this, then I sort of read about more about it and realized that, oh, it's not a small category of people who are looking for answers like this. 20 million is the, new numbers on how many women-led micro businesses are there, and they are doing businesses between 1.5 lakhs. I mean, of course, they do lower than that also, but like up to 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs. There's a whole category of women who are doing this kind of micro businesses, what is called nano entrepreneurs nowadays, and there's so many names for that. And they remain the backbone of so many households, of so many children going to school, so many children eating well. And this is a category worth supporting. So so that's where MeraBills, the journey began, that there is requirement of support and there is requirement to see how we can, better the outcomes of all the effort, time, energy, passion that these ladies are spending on business, and how can we help her do that better. But then the next step would have been to how do we understand what are the issues? So, just mapping out the challenges to understand what is the kind of challenges this particular let's say, this particular person faces. First of all, there was very low awareness of business concepts, what we call, I'll say cash flow so easily and you understand it so easily. But to try and explain it to this category of user is not such an easy task. So, what are these concepts of business and financial literacy that she needs to understand? Uh, the other thing was, if they don't understand how to measure things, how do they improve it? How does one improve one's business if you're not really sure where it is and what it is doing? There was also this huge lack of mentorship. I mean, I've said this before. I have been incubated at ISB. We're looking at IMA to support. There's IMB. There's so many kinds of places that even women like us find support. But what about mentoring and handholding support for this particular category of user, right? There also didn't seem any empathetic solutions that was looking very closely at how is she going to start using technology. Where is that reality that women understand and use tech differently from men? So where is this empathetic solution? And if we don't sort of answer to that, we are leaving them overburdened, underconfident, like I said, and more than anything else, feeling inadequate. And I couldn't stop telling you the kind of stories that come back to us when we have the success stories of our ladies using MeraBills and coming back and saying that I did not know how much money I was making. Now I know, and I didn't realize I was capable of so much, and now I can do more things. And those are the kinds of really the success stories which is what we are aiming for. But then coming back to if these are the challenges, what does the solution look like? I mean, initially we have to just understand what can the solution look like, right? It's a solution that can help her identify and measure the key metrics. We can't measure everything about a business, and there's so many ratios. We are all aware of multiple ratios that any kind of accounting takes into account. But if she had to measure four metrics, what should that be? And it has to be, then the other thing was, okay, that is done. The other thing is that it has to be in context correct language that she understands. So even when we say Hindi, we have changed our Hindi application so many times because then this word doesn't work. So in fact, there is a need for a English now. So you keep coming up with these things, that how can you make it multilingual? It had to be multilingual. The other thing was that it's not going to help to make it all digital and on the cloud. Like there are right now, obviously the entire world is going to the cloud and everything is becoming digital. But really, is this user ready to become completely digital? Isn't there a via media that has to happen? So there has to be this hybrid model of doing this, right? What we also realized is that her challenge is not just in how does she learn and understand this technology. One, she has to understand business. Second, she has to understand technology. But third, she has to access this. She's not going to go to the Play Store and look for something she doesn't know what she's looking for. I mean, how is she go? How is the tech going to find her, even if she doesn't find the tech? So we necessarily had to work with in a B2B model with partners, lenders, policymakers, government, anybody who is part of the ecosystem she lives in. So that's where we thought that that would be the requirement. And one more part to that was, which we realized later, is that it has to, in her case, for her to adopt technology, it has to also come from trusted sources. This is not an experimental, exploratory, adventurous person. I mean, I can't say for everyone, but the larger proportion of this category is not that I will go and explore and experiment. That men do. Uh, Women typically don't. So we need to bring her to the tech in certain ways, and then ultimately uh, that she needs to not just entrepreneurship is a lonely business. Running a business is a lonely business. So many of them are working from home, working on these things alone. So can we build these communities where they can talk business, where they can talk freely about, oh, I made this much money, or this person is not returning my money, or my receivables are lying, how can I collect it, and things like that. That will just have them talking about money and talking about business in her whole different way. So that was what we felt the solution should look like. And uh, and then as we looked at these solutions, we tried to categorize them, right? So there are some things which will come into a skill gap. So basic understanding of business, basic understanding of tech had to happen, right? Operational, like how do you run a business? What is the kind of things I need to be tracking to I grow my business or I at least sustain it? By the way, sustaining business is as great a thing as growing it. In many cases, maybe have spoken to users who've used it for 6 months and then stopped. And when we call and ask what happened, the number of businesses in this category that shut down is also not, not negligible. So just having a way of getting them to continue at least sustaining their business is one of our priority ideas also. So how do we reduce these operational struggles for her to continue peacefully? And then, of course, the ones that are really wanting to grow, I will be the next Ambani. Madam, tell me how to do this, and I want to grow. Those are the other where she needs access to markets. She needs access to new customers. She needs access to financing. And without the right tools and training, it's not happening. With all her passion and all her hard work, it's not happening the way it should. So I mean, on the right side actually is and this continues to remain my news. She is literally sells vada pav and tea in front of a hospital in Gujarat, and she has like three registers full of notes like this. And if she has the ability and the patience to do this, then we really need to build for her and build something for her that is really going to help her grow. I mean, it's almost, she's owed that. So anyway, the idea was that what does this tech solution framework look like, right? So there is a technology that needs to be built that is to be used by her. It is not for me. It is not for educated people. It is or people who have access to say an Excel or to a khata book or a vyapar or even Tally. It is meant for her. Most of the technology sort of so far has been coming down to her, whether it is WhatsApp, whether it is YouTube, she happens to be able to use it. And that's still it's still content consumption. It's not like, I mean, of course, some of them are making, small videos and so on and sharing and doing so on and so forth. But the point is that she hasn't consuming content on technology. It's not necessary that she's engaging with technology the way we are doing. So how do we build a piece of technology that she can use to her benefit, like which affects her day-to-day life, right? And then fine, we build that. That is, you have to have great UI, UX, ease of use, all those kinds of things have to happen. But then, like we spoke about the access pathways, it has to get to her. Not only that, we have to build user capabilities of how it gets to her. To therefore, the interim partner also and the user, they both have to be, you have to build capacities for both of them before she's able to use this technology. And when she does, it answers questions for her like this. My business is good enough for a loan. How do I collect long receivables? How do I reach more customers? These are the answers that it should be answering for her. And at the global level or at the women level, it should combat business dwarfism. The fact that many small business women don't grow over a certain size. That so many of them face credit crunch, right? They don't get loans easily, that they are overburdened, that somehow we relieve their burden that they have, and to build their confidence. So this is what the solution should look like, and this is what it should be doing. That's when we say we have a proper, we have a solution that is actually solutioning for her issues. So the vision, therefore, of MeraBills is to power a digitally inclusive India. That technology fuels confidence primarily, growth and success of women entrepreneurs for unlocking endless possibilities. I mean, all great words. To me, the important words here is building confidence and building and success and growth happen, but primarily it's confidence. So the other word that stands out for me is to build world-class technology. Why should we build a matter of fact, so on and so forth, chalta hai kind of a solution for her? We should be building world class technologies. And that's where, like, fortunately, we have been very fortunate in having a tech team that has worked with big tech, with large tech, Microsoft and Google and PayPal and what have you. So they have actually bringing those skills to build for her today. So therefore, what we built was MeraBills, which was the app, and we built access enablement for our partners, not only so that they could see what's happening on the field clearly, and so that we bring that data back to them so that they can see what's happening, they can build the next level of interventions, they can understand how they can better uh, their uh, their reach, how can they scale, so how can the partners also scale. Training individual women is not cheap or easy, but how do we begin to scale that and manage their things for them? That's what we realized. We have to build technology even for the ecosystem that surrounds us, and then of course to build the multi-mode training and capacity building. Lots of training collateral in multiple languages had to be made and delivered. Again, when we talk of challenges, we'll talk about that. That this kind of training material hadn't been built. We knew our app, we knew our women, so we had to, go back to scratch and build it ourselves, try it in the field, face a lot of like, oh, this doesn't work, oh, that doesn't work, just go back to the drawing board several times before we could really capture what it took to, to not have so much cognitive load on the woman and still be able to bring this to her, right? So essentially, the MeraBills platform emerged out of this, which is more than just the app. There's a so we want to build entrepreneurial capacity, partner with development organizations, build the proper training material, the training support, the ecosystem support. Then there's a MeraBills tools itself, the app itself. It's in 11 Indian languages. It works with low network. You can still enter transactions when there's low network, and all app gets deleted with alarming consistency. Child will delete it because to also put a game there, this, that, and the other. But therefore, all this data in the cloud gets pushed there automatically and is brought back. Uh, and the next step would be to enable growth. So therefore, what we need to do is bring this information back to this data, back to advisors, vendors, lenders, government, what have you, so that they're able to increase market and credit access for her, so that she's able to grow her business consistently. So that is essentially what we have developed. Now, the tech adoption challenges so this was fairly interesting. How we would go about it. This is the first, and I must say, 3 years ago, I think when we were just starting out 3, 4 years ago, the question would be because we would talk to our potential uh, intermediaries who would take this, who had access to these users and who actually were working with these women on multiple other things. Was it wash? Was it child mortality, maternal health? What have different kinds of things? And we would tell them about this app, and it would be like, are you talking about? I don't think our category of women can use this. Or, or there would be questions like, do you really think they're ready for it? Or do they have phones? Do they have access to phones? There were so many questions. So the first part was, besides building, easy UI, UX, all those other things that we did, it was getting partner buy-in. And partner buy-in came, and when it came very well. Like nowadays, those questions are not even asked. I think everybody has got it that listen, we can't leave this category of women behind. The question is how. It's no longer will this happen and in that space anymore at all. So the training, I mean, not only was the partner relationships to be built to bring the tech adoption to happen, but it was also the training material. Like I said, we had to build the training material out and see what works alongside these partners. There was also the training of trainers. We realized that obviously we can't go to the field and train every single one of these women, so there would have to be necessarily the training of trainers. So that's how we thought we would resolve this adoption challenge. Uh, Extensive training collateral, hybrid training models were developed. Um, More than that, the app was of course localized, and a lot of training support, tech support was provided. We actually built training management systems for the ecosystem to use. We built dashboards so that they could see what's happening. We build this whole backend referral links, what have you. So the partner would be able to have a clear and an honest view of what's happening on the field, so that they would be able to. So we could support each other in bringing this adoption challenge, this tech adoption challenge to pass. If we were just working by ourselves in the field, I don't think it would have reached the kind of success we have met. Uh, there's always room to grow, but really the kind of success we have met has been pretty incredible. I mean, that's what keeps you going, right? So that kind of a thing needed a lot of partner buy-in. It needed us to spend a lot of time on building awareness and so on. And then what happened was then the challenges to get the user to actually use it. That the sure we managed to get the partners, we managed to build the training material, we managed to train the trainers, but then to get the user to use it, how long does it take? How much hand holding is required? How often do we speak to them to not become bothersome? How do we know that this person really needs it and or doesn't? How is it going to happen? The kind of questions she had was, is this for me? Like, am I going to use this? So therefore, building awareness was the first step, which literally took up. even now maybe takes a 50% of the time, where you are sort of explaining why how business runs and why a tool like this is important. There was also this whole idea of perceived complexity. They'd never used a tool like this. They'd never used technology like this. They had consumed content. They had looked at things. Even UPI. Even UPI is still just a QR code there which people are swiping. Setting that up is still not using technology in as much as entering transaction, understanding, is this a sale? Is this a somebody repaying my money? Is this a collection owed that I am collecting? What is this and how do I enter this? So there was also this sense of, this cognitive load that is there for them to be able to use it. So then this fear of technology, this fear of complexity, this, is this for me? This fear of making mistakes. Even once she has started, there is this right? The number of times that they will ask a transaction they have entered several times. Suddenly, one fine they'll wake up and say, "Am I doing it correctly?" That space that is needed for women to learn, the women to engage, that safe space. I mean, these words are being, used at all categories of or at all levels of society. But in this category, it comes down to, being told that you're fine, you're right, continue, please continue, you're doing very well. So that kind of pat on the back to for them to use technology was very important. There was also what we realized was not so much excitement around tech at some. Obviously, this is not a monolithic group. There was excitement around tech for some people. It was like, yeah. And then we realized that what all entrepreneurs, including self, is most interested in is getting more customers. This is marketing. So we started with make your catalog first, because once you make a catalog, how do you hook her onto technology? Is when she sees a product which she has made painstakingly being sent to 100 phone numbers, which with her logo there or with her name there and her shop number there and her telephone number, and this looking very neat catalog made and being shared is a huge high. So I mean, this you start with that. So how do what is it that is important to them? What is it that they find most exciting? I want to send there'd be questions like, I just want to send Happy New Year, good morning message, and put my product on top of that. Marketing. We're building. These were the asks that were coming out of them. So what are the challenges? So to answer the question, what are the challenges to tech? We must understand what it is that they are excited about. We must understand uh, why would they keep coming back to something. Because the problem is that if you are using a WhatsApp or using YouTube, the gratification is instantaneous. In bookkeeping, the gratification is, if not 1 week later, 1 month later, right? When you look at your profitability or you look at, oh, these have been my expenses for the month, that's when it comes in. So we have to be sure that she sees a value today, she sees a value tomorrow. She realizes, if I hadn't done this yesterday, then today I would not be able to collect my money back. So that has to come in fairly quickly. So that is another challenge. The longer gestation period that something like this takes. Then there is also the thing that women don't really explore the features on the app. Like, we also realize that many of the questions that come to our website or to our WhatsApp group are oftentimes initiated by men. Of course, there are many women asking it also, but the 5% men who use MeraBills, they ask a lot more questions in terms of, इसमें inventory है? Because they can't see it off the bat because the front page doesn't show it. Or, इसमें ये कर सकते हैं? That kind of corner cases, or can I do this? Can I do that? Those are the questions that are coming. Many of them, and it's very gratifying when the women are asking it, but we also see that sometimes there are men asking those questions. So that becomes, I mean, this lack of exploratory gene is one thing that you have to make it very clear to the then how do you can't just bring her to the technology and leave her to explore. There has to be a lot more. The way the app is structured, the way we have to keep engaged with her in terms of over several months while she discovers the layers of features within the app. So that also requires some working. So that's and because the problem is that the adoption challenge will become harder and hard and more acute if she doesn't know exact the many ways in which her problems can be solved. So all those features have to slowly be shown to her as she is continues to grow with the tech. So the tech adoption becomes a longer, like both the gestation period and the adoption becomes a longer stretch. So that's one thing. Of course, simplify goes without saying. constantly we are working on simplifying the app itself, because you just have to bring it down to a very very simplified um format that she understands. So we did a lot of that. Add color, add, but you can't take away the text, and you really have this very chota screen of the phone to work on. While most of our reader, mostly all of our users are literate, they're not great with reading. They don't want to read that much. I mean, they can read, but if you were to give them, it's not like they're sitting and reading a newspaper every day, or they're reading expensive things every day. So it really, while they can read and they would under pressure read it, but really they would like to have these icons to work with. And once the sets are no longer reading it, I'm just going to go by color and shapes, kind of a thing. Coming to some of our fails, is this, sorry, what did I do? Okay. Anyway, coming to some of our, the places where we didn't do so great was, we didn't realize how much the partner sensitization mattered, how much to get in the buy-in from the partners, and to get in the buy-in from their field staff and their trainers, because without that, you really can't move very well on the field. So that was one of the things that we had to make sure that we learned a little later after a few projects, that you have to do that also. um, then the loss in transmission, we would train, the master trainers would train the TOT would train the field staff would train the user, and within that whole cycle, there would be losses of understanding of many of our trainers were not business people themselves. So, they would not completely grasp the concept, and then the transmission would become slower. So then we had to bring in things like a trainer assessment, train the trainers longer period, do trainer assessment, have they really understood, train them how to train, give them handbooks, give them, day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, ऐसा करना है. Next week ये करेंगे. What is it called? Retraining periods. Putting them on a WhatsApp group. If anybody has questions, keeping the trainers engaged. Those kinds of things we learned along the way. Some of the other things was, some of the early fails was like we didn't realize how much handholding was needed for technology adoption. And then we realized, oh, this is not a 15-day project. This is a 6-month project. It is for this particular user. And while the UI is very easy, and all that is, you know certainly not the, while technology can be made easier, it is behavior change. It is bringing a new idea to her, not only in business but in technology. It is overcoming that initial hesitation of both, should I be doing this? And how can I do this? Plus, what good will this do to me? Plus, my husband is saying no, like all kinds of things. I don't want to stand apart from the crowd. There were so many hesitations that had to be done, right? And then therefore, and of course, the digital habit formation. I mean, you and I look at the phone several times an hour. Here are people who leave it in their kitchen, and then, or somewhere in the house, and be doing 100 other things without necessarily looking at the phone. So that again, this ease, or this proximity to technology is also something that we realize is important. I mean, that has to be. I mean, much as I hate it now, having her look at the phone after every time she sells or buys something, but earlier this wasn't part of her agenda. To build that muscle, to build that habit, digital habit formation was required. So some of the other fails was we did not also think about how many seasonal businesses there are in this country, especially in rural India, and how many small business owners do multiple businesses, and things which open and shut at different times of the year, are festival related, are season related, and so on and so forth. Or if my child has exams, I'm not going to do anything. My somebody fell sick in my house, I'm not going to do anything. That she has the load to, she has these kinds of situations. And the problem would be when we spoke to some of our users who had been using it for a long time and then stopped. One of the things that came out was, oh, my mother-in-law fell sick and I'm taking care of her, and I stopped doing business for some time. But when I started doing business, I didn't know how to come back to the app. So how do you solve for something like that? You know. So those were the kinds of things that we understood that happen in real life. Right? That's real life. That happens to them because they are running a household also. That the learning curves are different. That we have often had group sessions with a lot of women, and some women are picking it up very quickly, and they're like, okay, okay. When we take feedback, then the group says, Some people are saying, "Oh, the training session was too long. And I can't spend so much time because I have a shop to run. I can't keep standing here and doing training." And then there'll be a whole set of other women saying that I didn't quite understand. So for us, it became like, hello, this training has to be balanced out. And then that even digital adoption, even for, this is not one monolithic group of women. Even if everybody is 10th pass or everybody is 12th pass or everybody has done a business for 2 years, and even if we categorize like that, still as it should be, there are different ways or levels at which women adopt. And there are different proclivities. I mean, some are out there, there is this, there's a difference between a growth mindset. There's a difference between a passionate entrepreneur who wants to grow versus somebody who's a modest livelihood type person. Like, yeah, I'll do tailoring. I'll do tailoring for my neighborhood. I'm making shawls and I'm making blouses and I'm good. I'm good there. There is this other woman who's like, I will download drawing from Chennai based person who's making blouses like this. I will go to the market and buy sequins and ribbons and things like that and make more, more designer looking blouses. And then I will sell it at higher price. And her neighbor is also a tailor, same NSDC tailor, who is like saying, I'm doing repair work, I'm putting fall, making, children frocks, I'm good. I'm making bags. So these people have to be, you put them in the same group, great, they learn, but we need to know to recognize who these people are. So that those were some of the things that we learned on the field. This has to happen. The learnings for us as an organization were things like send the tech team to the field. The technology team has to go and train, has to talk to our women entrepreneurs. They have to talk to the trainers. They must understand what it takes for them to adopt technology. We cannot be sitting in Bangalore and Hyderabad and building technology with this woman who's living in outside Maswad and in rural India. So that had to be done. We also realized that we must keep the training and the user groups, the organization very closely aligned. The idea of reporting, the idea of weekly reports, monthly reports, exhaustive reports on what exactly is happening on the field must be shared with the partners. Um, we also realize that we must be talking to our users very regularly because the real feedback does come from them. Although I must add that women are so reluctant to give bad feedback. मैंने feedback तो she, there'll be people who would have tried it for like 20 entries have happened or 30 entries have happened and they've stopped, obviously. Didn't see the value, didn't find it useful, whatever may have, right? And we'll call and ask, ki, Acha, you put in 20 transactions. Did you have trouble understanding? Can we help you with something? No, no, madam. बहुत अच्छा app hai. Very good app. I mean, I can completely understand it. Very easy. Then why aren't you doing? No, madam, I'll do from tomorrow. Like, she's trying to please tell me you are fine, and I just feel that we should give it back to them and tell them that you are fine. I mean, what we need to build in the app is a mechanism of telling her you're doing fine, you're doing great. If that seems to be the primary instinct that we all seem to, that women seem to have. um, some of the other notes I had were things like, yeah, peer learnings, peer learnings. We find that MeraBills champion in one of these groups, one of these, I will be the next Ambani kind of person, and have her there, making videos and sharing it on the WhatsApp groups we make with all these women and saying, this is how it helped me, this is what I did, and those things really work. Having their peers talk about how it's helped them and how they are being, inspired by it goes a long way. Shared successes, essentially. Um, Start with marketing. I think I already spoke about that. Some of the ways in which we realized, uh, we started creating a 30-day sprint, essentially keeping them engaged, giving them something to think about for 30 days, and that sort of makes business better. Bulk entries, oh my God, bulk entries. That's what we realized after a while, that many of these businesses, especially Kirana stores and all, are not going to put in every entry. They will put in bulk entries at lunchtime or at 4 o'clock or something. Then and then once when they close, so show them how to do that right off the bat, because she's like, "Arey, every time somebody is come, I have to put an entry. I'm not being able to do that. There are two people waiting here. Shall I serve them or shall I put entry in MeraBills?" So, then we realize that there are different types of businesses that need to be addressed differently. And that has to be part of the training, and it has to address these things. Um, Learning circles, WhatsApp groups with their peers, with that single trainer. I mean, the number of WhatsApp groups that we remain part of as constantly increasing simply because people want to share screenshots of this happened with me, which also leads me to another question, another observation that while we thought that why would people want to talk about their businesses or maybe they're more protective about how much money they're earning, women groups are quite happy to be talking about. I mean, I would have to stop them and say, like, don't share your profit documents. I mean, you don't share everything. But when we ask a question like, if you had to look at profit, where would you look for it? This would be part of a question, right? So send a screenshot and circle or to point out to this. So a lot of people would send it in. But many times, because we do the way we do the training is that initially we have a dummy account and then they sort of play around with that while we are doing the training period lasts, while adoption lasts, and then they go on to their real businesses. Uh, Sometimes I would send screenshot of the real business. So we're like, no, no, you have to send screenshot of the dummy business. So it was interesting to see. Therefore, all these things need to be addressed in the training, in the sensitization. That yeah, you have to be careful about your accounts and uh, that but I mean, to be quite honest, if I'm making this much money and this is how my business is doing in a village reality, most other homes are fully aware of the situations of every other home. So it's not, this privacy factor is really a very urban idea. It's something that I also feel we are beginning to learn. Of course, between the husband and the wife, there is a great deal of privacy requirement. That is a different story. So, but anyway, I'll stop here, and I would love to, hear. I think maybe I've overshot the time, but I've stopped. Sorry, very badly overshot.
We have overshot the time, but this has been an absolute masterclass, Pia, on how to design for women, how to understand your customer, how to segment your customer, and how to understand how to reach them. I have multiple questions that I would want you to double click on, but meanwhile, if there's others in the room who have any questions, any comments, or would like to share your own experiences, please do come in. Yes, I see a raised hand. Neelam? Yes. Please ask your question. Yes.
So thank you, Priya. I really enjoyed and especially the challenges that you talked. So we are also building I should say both in person and a tech platform. It's called Rojgar Haba, where we work in the rural areas. One of the challenge that we feel, and I wanted to have your experience, or maybe you can share how we should go about it, because when we are designing the UI part, or that we assume a lot of things that this is what people would like to do, add up these features, and then we realize it has just become too complex for them, for the users to use it. So when you guys were developing for the MeraBills, like how did you go about, especially knowing the customers, that how can they operate in, and especially I understand the customer segment here is also of the similar that we operate in.
Yes, no, of course I've heard of Rosgar Dhaba, and congratulations on the great work you're doing. Uh, if you can tell me a little bit more on what exactly are you trying to build, like access to markets, or what what is the part of the solution that you're trying to build?
Sure. So we are building a platform which is where rural communities or rural youth and women, they can access the skilling, they can access the guaranteed jobs and the documentation and welfare schemes. So these are the three elements that we are putting it up on our tech. And that's how, so they put their qualifications, they put their education's level and all, and it gives them matching, and then they can apply for it. So it's a similar kind of that's the kind of platform that we are developing for the rural communities. So our communities are like for the blue collar workforce out here. So the education level is also limited to some extent, and it is a multi-language tech platform.
Yes. No, no, great, great. It's certainly very required. One thing is, then, Neelam, if you're working with youth, they're very digitally native. Like, even those who haven't, I have found we could wave MeraBills in front of 10-year-olds and they get, their mothers will take like 3 months to understand. So if you're working with the youth and that is going to be your target audience going forward, uh, call them in. I mean, and then they are very enthused also. So, like, even if you can do these brainstorming sessions with them, a kind of where you can actually, Of course, I mean, I'm sure you've already done that. I mean, making wireframes and doing uh, kind of, is this better, is that better kind of situations. I mean, I'm not sure if you've done that, but we did try some of it. But it does come from experience. I can tell you, in technology, saying no to a feature is a lot harder. Like, I also agree with you. I mean, I completely understand when you say that you'll end up overbuilding. It is very easy to overbuild. And the problem is, as soon as you overbuild, immediately the app becomes, or the tech becomes unusable by this category. So it's better to underbuild and bring it in slowly, because the temptation to put in one more feature is fairly is I know what you mean exactly. I mean, I wish I could offer you, concrete suggestions other than saying no to features unless it is urgent, unless it is asked for. Build slowly, like, build the first set of things. Let that go to the population, where you will see them ask for things. Build when it's being asked for. I mean, that's one thing my tech team, because I would come up with, oh, can we do this? This will be very useful for them, and they would actually make me go find three users who are asking for that before they would build it. So it's has to be curated and has to be very measured, and you can't give into the temptation of overbuilding, of, ye add kar dete na, it'll be so much easier for, this will be useful, like, you have to just wait for the user to ask for some of these things. Of course, some things are just have to be done also. So, these focus group discussions, at least four, five of them. We fortunately had this thing happening. We started during the pandemic, and we had this. We were working with Mandeshi and Mandeshi Foundation, and these 80 women, and we trained them for a couple of days, and then they 80 of them sat down and gave us full gyan, like, in the sense, this works, this doesn't work, this is nonsense. I'm not understanding this at all. But they were also free. It was lucky. Like, they were also somewhat free because it was lockdown, and we were, of course, desperate for any kind of feedback. But essentially, get a few people into a focus group room, kind of a thing. And if you're working with youth, I'm sure they'll be happy to comment.
Thanks,
I,
Priya. Thank you.
does that answer? Just don't overbuild.
Yes, thank you, Priya. You rightly said it is hard to say no to a feature, but then we realize we have to because based on our, the usability that we wanted to increase with our customers or beneficiaries.
I mean, and I'm not the tech person, but please be very conscious of the fact that the phone, na, that you and I are seeing the sample or the app on, is very different from the phone she's seeing on. So just make sure you have a 5,000 rupee phone also that you're seeing the screen on.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, Akash.
Akash has a comment, please.
Yes. Hi. Hello, Priya ma'am. Thank you so much, for the session. It's really, really helpful and insightful for a founder like me who is like building first time. So I will tell you what we are doing building. So we have built a GPT for a financial doc. So what I see is that loan, insurance, any policies, those are most of comes in English, and those are comes in a PDF, long, complex jargon. It's hard for even a metro user or forget about rural user to decode and see what inside that document is there for them. So for that, this finance doc gpt, what it does, it takes the any financial document, it could be loan, insurance, and using a ai and llm, we generate the insight that user should read for that document. And it comes with the ai chatbot which supports the regional language. Means you can type question in regional language, the information will come in the regional language. So is that like you are working very closely with the with the customer that I would love to cater? Do you see the adoption of this kind of platform? If I'm trying to do a partnership and collaboration with the banks and loan insurance and social impact organizations, who are providing this kind of solutions. Do you see any kind of scope for this kind of platform?
If you're asking about the users we talk to, rural women entrepreneurs, they will not read a sentence,
Mhm.
two sentences
Okay.
max. Huh? So if you're, and the cognitive load of trying to understand point one, point two, point three, and then taking a decision is going to be very high.
Mm.
At least at this point. At least at this point. It will change. These things are changing very rapidly in the field, but in India. But at this point, that's one thing. The other thing is that I heard this from someone. I don't know how helpful it is to you, but I heard, and I thought it was a very interesting statement that somebody said that insurance in India is a agent-led activity.
Yes.
So that's our natural go-to. Keep it's an agent-led activity. वो कोई आएगा तभी होगा. But that again, not meaning that it doesn't change. So these things will change, and we are watching many things. Earlier, ticketing was a agent-led activity. Now all of us are doing our own ticketing. So I am of the confidence that things are changing. Uh, Audio definitely. Audio will work better. But audio has this problem of not being able to give you in points. You'll forget the first point by the time the third point is reached. So you'll have to figure out how the bite-sized audio works. Like take a decision, yes or no. A decision tree will have to be created in audio, if at all. I mean, I'm just guessing at these things, and I haven't thought about it very much. But yes, no answers move forward. Yes, no answers move forward can bring you to a decision.
Okay.
That's how we are also thinking in terms of advisory that we are building. That would be the kind of ways in which you would want them to consume more complex ideas. And and to take a policy, which policy to buy, I'm assuming we are talking about that, is a complex decision, which will have to be broken down in bite-sized decisions of yes and no, and then be brought.
Okay. Yes. That's a
I
very
hope that helps.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. So this is actually I have came across this issue also that I wanted to take a I don't like push because you don't get confidence actually unless you do it by yourself, but unless you understand yourself, you don't fit to your own goals and you don't see the how it's you can use it very deep manner. So that is the that is the thing I wanted to solve for others too. That push versus push has a long retention, means there is a long values coming out when there is a like a self learning or doing by itself or understanding for ourselves. But yeah, I thank you so much. This is really helpful, and your class is a really master class. I would agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'm so sure that there are so many more of us with questions, but hopefully we can continue having more conversations with you and interacting further on. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so I will have to conclude the session. But Priya, thank you so very much for taking us through your journey, through your processes, with so much of clarity and depth.
My apologies. I didn't realize how much of the time I had overshot. But if anybody has any questions, please write to me. I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.